folks, and welcome back to another episode of your Brains Coach podcast. My name is Shurina. I'm your host, I'm your Brains Coach, and it is my job here to deconstruct all the neuroscience, a lot of protocols from different health sciences, and to give you brain body tools so you make your best decisions, so you feel great, and you keep making progress towards your life's, your work's vision. Today, folks, I'm super excited to share with you the recording of a Banish procrastination workshop that we did a couple of weeks ago with folks. And during this recording, during this workshop, during this Banish procrastination masterclass, I shared with folks 3 secrets that I learned from neuroscience about how our brain works. 3 secrets that when you know them, and you have the specific practical protocols that I'm going to share during this workshop, when you know that, you will not be able to even procrastinate when you use those protocols. So procrastinations will become impossible unless you truly want to procrastinate. When you use this system, of course, you need to use it to get the effect. And it's very simple, no cost. It takes very little time, and it's all worth it. When you know it, when you use it, when you know these neuroscience secrets and you apply this knowledge to your life, you will stop your procrastination forever. Like if you truly decide that this is important and I'm gonna do it, then these are the tools that will help you to A, never forget about your commitment, B, understand and feel that it's important, and actually consistently follow through with action. So you're going to learn how to cancel procrastination out of your life. Again, unless you are not serious about the thing that you say you want to do. And then procrastination is what you intended to do in the first place. But 3 neuroscience secrets during this workshop, that's what you're going to learn. And folks, I'm going to be doing a lot more of these workshops. So if you want to stay tuned, please send me an email, say workshops, an email to Angela@brainbreakthroughcoach.com, Angela@brainbreakthroughcoach.com. And I'm going to put you on the list to update you on these free workshops that I'm doing every Thursday. And without further ado, learn these 3 neuroscience secrets that will help you to forever cancel procrastination out of your life. Unless, again, you actually want to procrastinate. So please enjoy, tune in, learn the secrets, apply them into your life, and have no procrastination stopping you, your progress, your vision. Specific problems around procrastination. And then the second part, if you have time and if you have questions after 30 minutes, you can stay for 15-20 minutes and ask very specific questions, right? First, let me introduce myself also. I'm Shurina. I've been in coaching for more than 10 years. That's kind of like what I've always done. And I'm coming to productivity and neuroscience and brain coaching from the background of fitness, of health, of performance, of nutrition. I kind of built up the skills and certifications, and now really geeking out on neuroscience research and connecting it to all of the skills that I learned before. The grand vision to provide people with brain user manual so we can all do what we want to do. I have this insider joke with myself. We've been given the most sophisticated piece of machinery, goal-achieving machinery in the entire universe, but unfortunately, nobody provided user manual. So that's where we are, and neuroscientists are doing the work now. One more thing before we begin, I'd like to get your commitment on 100% focus and participation here and now, right? I'm going to go fast. So you need to be focused. Otherwise, you're going to miss an important piece and things will not connect. Okay. Thumbs up if you are here.
Okay.
Now.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So let's begin. Folks, we are doing a lot of things. Like you do the work, you take care of yourself, of your family, of, bills, your health, a lot of things. And you're not procrastinating on those. You're here now, you're thriving, have food on your table, have roof over your head. Your brain is not forgetting to take care of all of that, right? Just understand that procrastination isn't the property of your brain. Like your brain is actually really good at taking care of things that are important to you, right? So nobody is a procrastinator. Your brain is perfectly capable of taking care of the important things. Again, that's why you're here now and thriving. And now I like to tell you like why the brain procrastinates on some things, but not on others. There are 3 secrets and problems. Number 1, when you procrastinate, the brain, without consulting you, decided that it is not important. And I'm going to explain to you why it happens. So number 1, your brain decided it is not a priority. It is not important. That's why you are delaying it. And your brain is allowing perfectly. Number 2, your brain has decided, again, without consulting you, it all happens subconsciously, that it is too expensive to take that action. And I'm going to tell you again, why is that the case, right? Why does your brain decide something is more expensive and you'll understand what it is and something is less expensive? And number 3 is your brain forgets certain things, but not others. Your brain simply forgets. That's why you procrastinate. It just slips your mind. It happens to all of us on certain things, but not on others, right? It's not that you have bad memory. No, your brain prioritizes. So one core concept you always want to keep in mind, your brain's primary purpose, like the purpose number 1, to make sure that you always have enough energy to live, to survive, right? This is what your brain always calculating whatever you are deciding to do. Do we have enough energy to do that or we don't? Are we going to waste a lot of energy or not? And it's all happening, at the background. You're not aware of this process, but that's what's happening. Your brain is calculating, however imperfectly, this energy equation, trying to make you survive. That's all your brain cares about, and your survival and thriving. So now let's jump into the 3 problems that I told you about that neuroscience tells us, like this is how the brain works, and you need to address them if you want to get certain things done, and you want to stop procrastinating on them. So number 1, how does the brain decide what's important or what not? Again, back to the brain's primary purpose, your survival. So your brain, let's say you are deciding to start a podcast, right? Your brain needs to understand, okay, I'm taking care of your bills, I'm taking care of your food, I'm taking care, of your social life. It all related to procreation, social status, survival, thrival. We understand this. How does your podcast relate to any of that? How is it helping you to survive and thrive? Did you ever have a conversation with yourself? Like, why do I want to do this podcast in the first place? If you just want to do it for the heck of it, to be honest, unless you have a lot of free time, your brain will not do that. It's not important. Why would I care to spend resources, right? So the first strategy to make anything important for you, you need to sit down and in writing, preferably, have this conversation with yourself. Why is this project important? Why is starting a podcast important? Or why starting to do acting important, right? Why working on my brand is important? And then you want to ask again and again, why? How does it provide for me? How does it increase my social status? How does it increase my earnings? Or has the potential? It's all very subjective, but you need to have this conversation with yourself, preferably again in writing, so you don't forget these things. And when you do, you have the reminder. So you need to make this connection. Besides that, what increases motivation? Your reason why is basically the reward that your brain gets. And you need to understand how, again, does it contribute to your thriving, your surviving, your social status, your money making. You need to make this connection. And again, it can be potential, but you need to understand this connection. The second thing you need to be doing, tracking progress, right? So if you decide to work on your podcast, your brain needs to make sure about anything you do, that the reward is coming and you're making progress. How do you do that? You create some sort of calendar or milestone tracking, right? So day number 1, I recorded an episode. Day number 2, I put it out and so many people listened, right? You have the statistics. Day number 3, day number 4, day number 5. Your brain needs to understand the progression and the movement forward toward your goal. Otherwise, your brain will decide it is a waste of time and resources, and therefore, we're going to dedicate your resources somewhere else. That's what always happening at the background. I'm just talking it through, right? It happens very fast. So your brain always prioritizes. Resources are limited. You don't have, unlimited energy or attention or anything. Even your brain capacity to remember is very limited. So you need to always remember that your brain is always making calculations. So you want to stop procrastinating on something. This is first thing you need to do. How does it relate to my survival, me thriving, me getting more resources? Why is that important? And then you get the reward, you get the progress going. One amplifier here, accountability, because social status for human beings is very important. It's, our safety, more opportunities, it's, procreation. And so if you have a buddy, a friend, anyone like family member who can keep you accountable, you'll do surprisingly more for them than for yourself. And that, again, just because social status has always been so important for human survival, mammalian survival in general. That's how the brain of a mammal works. We are tribal animals. So that's, concept number 1, why you procrastinate on some things, but not on others. Now, I'm going to take a sip of water. I'm going to, this is like drinking from a fire horse, right? I've been, getting this information for many months and years. So it is very clear in my head, not necessarily in your head. That's why, if you're taking notes, that's amazing, because then you can ask better questions and in your own time kind of go through this information again to understand it deeper. So concept number 2, your brain will not do things that it considers too expensive. By expensive, we mean too much resources expended for too little of a reward. Imagine this thing. You come to a supermarket, you see a pineapple, and it costs, let's say, $1,000. Will you buy it? You will not, because the price you pay for the value you get, just not comparable. That's what we all do as human beings. So your brain does the same every single time. Let's say, again, you're starting a podcast. So let's see the cost. Okay, in our head, we are usually making it complicated. We need to find guests, and that will take time and, possibly, different resources, how we approach those guests. Like, maybe you have Calendly, like so many resources already. We need to have equipment. We probably, need to invest in that. We need, again, spend time and energy educating ourselves, buying it, more resources. We need to find a host for our podcast to put the stuff online and keep it there. Again, you have to educate yourself. You have to spend time and energy and most probably money on that, right? So your costs are rising. Now on what you get. Usually, if you procrastinate on that thing, there is maybe something, maybe nothing. Like the value that you get in your head, it's literally that not clear. You're like, I should probably do the podcast. It might be good for my brand. And that's all you get for all the costs right now, right? So you have to pay imaginary thousands of dollars for very little value. And your brain is like, but why? What's the purpose? I'm not stupid, right? I'm not doing that. So what you do is that, like, here's your cost, here your value. We're going to bring the cost down, the value up. How do we do that? We make the first step very easy. How are you going to start the podcast? On my phone with the mic it has. I don't have to do any extra work. Where are we going to host it? Any free platform. All of them provide free plans. Who are we going to invite? We're going to invite ourselves, talking about our story. Episode 1-on-1, I'm going to introduce myself, and it's going to be 5 minutes. Right, so now to start it, you probably need like 5 minutes of time and resources, right? So cost, we just reduced it. And keep in mind, it's all self-talk. Nothing changed. It's just how you perceive reality, how we all do that if we don't talk to ourselves better. And now value, okay? So the podcast can
from the day one, bring to my business additional customers. Like, let's say you have a business who can benefit from online audience. Now, I perhaps get to talk to experts who can bring additional audience to me, to my business, right? What else can we get from podcasts? We can use our podcast to advertise on different podcast platforms. Again, going to bring to us money, also friendships. Also, we possibly can grow it, and it will increase our social status as an expert, right? You see, now the value is growing, and the cost is really small. And you repeat it several times, and you're like, yeah, I'm doing it tomorrow or today, right now, because why not? It is going to take 5 minutes, right? And I'm online. And so every time we are procrastinating on something, after we understand, after we walk ourselves through the value, what are we getting? We want to make sure that cost value equation is where it needs to be. And again, you're lowering the cost, but by simplifying the process, making the first step very clear, very simple, very fast, and talking yourself through, again, on paper works better, potential value and what it can bring into your life, how you can grow as a person, as a business, like how much value it can be. And you literally, have like 2 columns, costs and the benefits and the value that you're going to get. And your value should be like ideally 10 times bigger. And that's where your brain, like, you're stupid by not doing that, right? So we're just going to do it. So this is number 2, right? First, why is it important? How does it contribute to my survival, thrival, social status? Number 2, this cost value equation. Okay, 2 columns, write down cost, minimize them, value, increase. Again, it's all done through your self-talk. It is also all real, but it just, there are days when you look at one side of the city and it's sunny, and you look at another side of the city and it's cloudy. And depending on where you look, your mood will change, and your brain will think whether that's a good day to go out or it's better to sit at home, right? It can literally mean like your windows might be on one side, somebody else is on the other. And because of that, you make different choices. As easy as that. It's like the brain is not that smart in that sense. Very easy to like tell your brain a lot of things that it will believe. So again, number 1, value. Number 2, cost value equation. And number 3, you simply forget. Our world is full of distractions. Messaging, emails, things you gotta get done, things, other people, unexpected circumstances. There are so many things. And very often for the brain, it's hard to, again, distinguish unless you do the work, what's more important, what's less important. So your brain like remembers what's the most important, what feeds you, and making sure you don't die and you survive, right? The rest kind of on the background. And so if you want to not forget about new things that you want to start, like starting a podcast, you need to introduce smart triggers or reminders in your physical and digital environment. How do we do that? There are 2 proven by research best ways to do so. They did studies, for example, making sure that people who register to vote, they actually go and vote instead of just forgetting about the whole thing altogether. So they did one thing. They called people and they asked them to tell them how, when, and where they gonna vote. So literally on the phone, they would ask, how you gonna vote? Like, what's the method, right? Are you gonna do it online? Are you gonna do it offline? When exactly are you gonna do it? The day and the time. And where? What is the address where you're gonna go to do that? How, when, and where? They created this recipe in their head. And for the brain, it's kind of like making the action already. It's building this neural circuit. And once you repeat it several times, how, when, and where, it's like already doing the action and you're repeating it. And it's so much easier to jump into action once you have this recipe. So let's say you want to start a podcast. Okay, how, when, and where? In my living room. I'm going to do it in the morning, 9 a.m. And I'm going to use my phone and talk about my background for 5 minutes, right? My story. How, when, and where. And you repeat it, even better, write it down. Everything is better in writing several times, and you have the recipe. The second thing that is also crucial to make this happen, hot reminders, like hot tea. Sometimes my pronunciation is not perfect, so making sure that you understand, folks. Hot reminders, how are they different from cold? This concept of hot reminder was popularized by James Clear in his book, Atomic Habits. So let's talk about cold reminder. Cold reminder is something like, let's say I'm making a podcast and I set my alarm with the reminder, let's say at 6 a.m. So I got that reminder. And let's say I decided to do the podcast after work. And so by the time after the reminder, 6 a.m. in the morning till 6 p.m. after you come home from work, there are a lot of things will happen, right? They will occupy your mind space. So many urgencies, messages, emails, like just a lot of stuff, right? And by the time it's 6 p.m., you are, especially if it's a new thing, most likely not going to remember all that well what you needed to do. So instead, you might still have the 6 a.m. alarm, but you also need to have an alarm right before that action of recording the podcast happening. Ideally, 5, maybe 10 minutes before whatever you need to get ready, or maybe when you're leaving work, you get another reminder telling you, you come home, you're recording your podcast. And that's when it's a hot reminder that you're not going to forget it, right? So before the action, when and where you're going to perform the action, there has to be either an alarm or you come home and the podcast, maybe the mic or the reminder is right there. Record your podcast right now, right? This is a hot reminder because you are going to be doing the action right then and there, not next morning, not, next month on Tuesday, right then and there. So this is a good reminder that is effective, that will actually help you to make things done. The same as, meetings. Very often we schedule calls and then we forget about them. Even though we might have like a reminder in the morning, by the time it's noon, we already forgot about that. You're like, it slipped my mind. I was so busy that I forgot. The better reminder is like 30 minutes before, 15 minutes before, and you go, right? So this is a hot reminder that will work for the brain much better. And first, recipe, and then the reminder, either in your physical environment or your digital environment, or maybe a combination of them. Just remember, the more distracted your environment is, the more of those reminders you will need to not remember. And it's not because your brain, again, is not working right. It's because you have a lot of stuff. And the extra stuff, you didn't even, make it apparent that it was very important in your life and in your work, for your future, for you thriving. So these are the things that you need to address with every single thing that you procrastinate on. And once you do that, folks, you're not going to be procrastinating. If you do these 3 steps, making sure you write down the value, how does it contribute or has the potential to contribute to your resources, to your, thriving, your status, how is it going to contribute? Number 2, cost and value stack. You need to write it down, make the beginning very small and very simple, inexpensive. And then number 3, your recipe and your reminders. And after that, I never met a person who did this work and then they, again, procrastinated. It's like when your brain understands that this is important, your ass is on fire, it will do that, right? And that's the kind of feeling you got to have. And usually you know that, right? When you feel this urgency, you're going to do that. And you don't need any reminders. You like run and do that, day or night. So that's it. That's the